Hi, all my friends. Not too close. Well, first of all, I'm sorry to lose some subscribers from some of the comments I've been making. Listen, you got to use critical thinking here, folks. That's one thing that we haven't been taught. Well, my generation, yes, but later generations, not so much, and less, and they're just trying to dumb you guys down. If you are a believer in the Lord, okay, and you know that God selects people to be in place, whether they're good or bad, He uses them for good, okay? So we know Donald Trump is a narcissist, and where he falls on that line, I don't know. I'm not a clinical psychologist. I don't know if he's ever been tested. Probably not, because he thinks he's perfect. However, we are not to judge, okay? We're not to judge people by those types of things. Let God handle that. If God has selected him to be the president of the United States, allowed him to be president, he has a good reason for it, okay? And he will turn it around and use it for good, okay? Which I think that he is in many ways. There are a lot of things going on behind the scenes that you don't know about. For example, like what I said yesterday with Trump meeting with with Japan, China, Russia, and Iran to get the Koreas to stop their nuclear program, to denuclearize the area. And if the two of them get together with the South and their technology and the North and their resources and everything, they're going to be a little powerhouse. And China is encouraging this, okay? So anyway, and Russia, and they border on both borders, so of both countries, that is. So anyway, if you got to do what you got to do for you, and just know that I love you in Christ always, all my brothers and sisters, and we can differ on our opinion. We don't have to agree on everything. Doesn't mean that you're a good or bad Christian, okay? So don't limit yourself, okay? Be a little bit more open and forgiving, okay? That'll be helpful to you, I'm sure. Anyway, we stopped at page 270, and trying to think where. Yeah, right on the very first top of it. So let me just start there. I was out this morning with my honey. We went to the Spanish Hills area. We're going to have her office is going to have a 30-year anniversary at this really posh clubhouse in the Spanish Hills. So we went to check it out. It's really lovely. So anyway, wish us luck on that. All right. So male and female, he created them. Okay. The inner meaning of male and female were very familiar to the earliest church. We've lost that wisdom, as I mentioned yesterday. Okay, so I'll just start with this paragraph. The earliest people found their greatest happiness and pleasure in marriage. Whenever they could possibly draw a comparison between something else and marriage, they did so, in order to perceive the happiness of marriage in that other entity. Being people of depth, they enjoyed only the deeper aspects of things. External objects were just for looking at. Their thoughts were occupied instead with things that those objects represented. External objects then were nothing to them, serving only as a springboard for reflection or inner realities. And these were contemplation of heavenly realities, and so of the Lord, who was everything to them. The same process caused them to reflect on the heavenly marriage, which they could tell was a source of happiness in their own marriages. As a result, they called the intellect in the spiritual being male, and the will there female. And when the two worked together, they called it a marriage. The religion initiated the practice, which became quite common. of the calling the church the daughter of the virgin, as in the Virgin Zion or the Virgin Jerusalem, also the wife, the account of its desire for good. For more on this, you can see the treatment of Genesis 2:24 and 3:15. And then God blessed them. God said to them, reproduce, multiply, fill the earth and harness it, rule over the fish of the sea, over the bird in the heavens, and over every living animal and creeping on the earth. Living animal creeping on the earth. And the earliest people called the interconnection of intellect and will, or of faith and love, a marriage. So the generation of good from that marriage they termed reproduction, and generation of any truth they termed multiplication. Because they did so, the prophets did so too. In Ezekiel, for instance, I will multiply human and animal upon you, mountains of Israel, and they will multiply and reproduce, and I will cause you to live in your ancient times, and I will do good to you beyond that at your beginnings, and you will know that I am Jehovah. I will cause humankind, my people Israel, to walk upon you. Ezekiel 36:8, 9, 10, 11, and 12. Humankind here means the spiritual being, which is also called Israel. The ancient times mean that the very earliest church, and the beginnings mean the ancient church, which followed the flood. The multiplying of truth comes before the reproducing of good, because these verses describe the person who is being reborn, not one who has been reborn already. When the intellect couples with the will in us, or faith with love, the Lord through Isaiah calls us a married land. No longer will your land be named devastated, but you will be called, I am well pleased with her, and your land married, since Jehovah will take pleasure in you, and your land will be married. Isaiah 62:4. The fruits of truth produced in this marriage are called sons, while the fruits of goodness are called daughters, as occurs quite often in the word. The earth is filled with truth and goodness. Proliferate, because the Lord blesses and says things that operates. Goodness and truth grow beyond measure, as he states. The kingdom of the heavens is like the mustard seed that you have taken and sown in your field, which to be sure is the smallest of all seeds, but when it has grown, it is bigger than all the plants and becomes a tree, so that the birds of the sky come and nest in its branches. Matthew 13:31 and 32. The mustard seed is the good we have before developing spiritual orientation. It is the smallest of the seeds because we suppose that we do good on our own. Anything we do on our own is evil through and through. But since we are engaged in the process of being reborn, we have a trace, the smallest possible trace of goodness. Later, as faith becomes more closely connected with love, it grows larger, a plant. And when the connection is completed, it turns into a tree. And then the birds of the heavens, which here are, as before, are true ideas, or the contents of the intellect, nest in its branches the fact that we know. We are spiritual people. When we are spiritual people or are becoming spiritual, we are subject to conflict, and that is why it says, harness the earth and rule. Genesis 1:29, and God said, here now I am giving you every seed-bearing plant on the face of the earth, and every tree that has fruit. The tree that produces seeds will serve you for food. A person whose nature is heavenly enjoys only heavenly things, which are called heavenly food, because they harmonize with the life such a person lives. A person whose nature is spiritual enjoys spiritual things, which are called spiritual food, because they harmonize with the life this person lives. A person focuses on the physical world similarly enjoys earthly things, which are called food because they are vital to such a person. These are mainly facts. As a spiritual people are the subject at present, their spiritual food is depicted by the representative items here. The seed-bearing plant represents a spiritual type of this food, as does the tree that has fruit. The more general term for both is the tree that produces seeds. These people's earthly food is described in the next verse. The seed-bearing plant is every true idea that looks toward a useful goal. The tree that has fruit is religious good. The fruit is what the Lord gives the heavenly person. But the seed leading to new fruit is what he gives the spiritual person, which is why it says the tree that produces seed will serve you for food. The next chapter, treating of the heavenly type of person, will demonstrate that heavenly food is called the fruit from the tree. Here the Lord's word through Ezekiel will suffice. Besides the river on its bank, on the side that grows every food tree, its leaf will not fall, its fruit will not be used up. Month by month it is reborn because its waters are going out from the sanctuary, and its fruit will serve as food, and its leaf as medicine. Ezekiel 47:12. Water from the sanctuary symbolizes the living energy and mercy of the Lord, who is the sanctuary. The fruit symbolizes wisdom, which is food to people of heavenly character. The leaf is intelligence, which is given to them for a purpose referred to as medicine. The idea that spiritual food is called a plant or grass, though, is represented in David. My shepherd, I will lack nothing. In grassy pastures you make me lie down. Psalms 23:1 and 2. Genesis 1:30. Every wild animal of the earth, every bird in the heavens, every animal creeping on the earth in which there is a living soul, every green plant will serve them for nourishment, and so it was done. This verse depicts the spiritual person's earthly food. The wild animal of the earth symbolizes such a person's earthly plane of existence, and as does the bird in heavens, both of which receive for nourishment the green plant or grass. Concerning this person's two kinds of food, both earthly and spiritual, David has the following to say: Jehovah causes grain to sprout for the beast and plants, for the service of humankind, to bring bread from the earth. Psalms 104:14. Swedenborg sampler says also that the beast stands for the wild animal of the earth, and at the same time the bird in the heavens, both of which David mentions in verse 11 and 12 of the same Psalms. In the verse, the nourishment of the earth itself is restricted to green plants for the following reason. While we are being reborn and learning to concern ourselves with spirit, we are in constant battle, which is why the Lord's church is described as militant. Up to this point, our cravings have controlled us because our whole being is cobbled together out of nothing but those cravings and the distorted ideas they spawn. We cannot rid ourselves of those longings and distortions instantaneously during regeneration. To do so would destroy us completely, since we have not yet acquired another way of life. Consequently, evil spirits are left with us for a long time to trigger our appetites, which then break down in countless different ways, and break down so thoroughly that the Lord can turn them into something good. This is the way we reform. In the time of battle, evil spirits leave us no other nourishment than the equivalent of green plants. These spirits hold an absolute hatred for everything good and true, for anything having to do with love for the Lord and faith in Him. These beings only good and true things that exist, because such things hold eternal life within them. But from time to time, the Lord gives us additional food that can be compared to seed-bearing plants and fruit trees, calm and peace, and with their accompanying joy and happiness. If the Lord were not protecting us every moment, every split second, we would be wiped out instantaneously. Hatred against any aspect of love for the Lord or faith in Him dominates the world of spirits, and the hatred is so deadly that it defies description. I can testify to the truth of this absolutely. For several years now, I visit the next world and the spirits there, though remained in my body, and the evil one, the worst in fact, have crowded around me, sometimes numbering in the thousands, and they have been allowed to spew out their venom and harass me in every possible way. But still they were unable to hurt a single hair on my head, so closely did the Lord guard me. I'm going to stop there and do another video and try to get some more in. Okay, Love you guys. Take care. Bye-bye.